One of the most important and probably least understood stories this month is what some companies are calling the AI cost crisis. Internal reports from several major tech firms suggest that as AI systems become more agentic, they're consuming dramatically more compute than expected. In some cases, workloads are using up to 1,000 times more tokens than earlier conversational models. And that's led to internal pressure to rethink how these systems are deployed. Johannes, I think a lot of people assumed AI costs would go down over time. I did. But this sounds like the opposite.
It is, at least in some contexts. The assumption was indeed that with more efficient models, we would automatically see a cheaper deployment. But what's happened instead is that the use cases expanded faster than the efficiency improved.
Meaning people are doing more with it than originally planned?
Exactly. And when AI was mostly conversational, usage was relatively predictable. But once you introduce agents, systems that plan, retry, verify, coordinate, and execute multiple step tasks, you dramatically increase the number of operations required per outcome.
So one request doesn't equal one response anymore, it becomes a chain of actions.
Right. And each step consumes compute. So instead of answer a question, you get search, analyze, cross check, refine, execute, validate, and report. That's not a conversation, that is a workflow.
Which sounds more useful, but it also sounds more expensive.
And that's the tension that we're seeing. And companies are now discovering that the scale introduces friction in a way that wasn't obvious at the start. At small scale, these systems feel efficient. At large scale, they behave more like industrial processes.
So this is where the economics start to matter as much as the technology itself.
More than because once costs become variable and unpredictable, organizations start rethinking where and how they deploy AI, not because it isn't useful, but because efficiency becomes a constraint again.
It feels ironic. We spent years trying to make computers do more for us, and now we're trying to figure out how to make them do it without spending a fortune.
That is often how technological transitions mature, Tiffany. The capability arrives first, the economics follow later, and they don't always arrive neatly aligned.
So, what happens next, Johannes? Do companies scale back?
Some will optimize, some will restrict usage, some will redesign workflows entirely around cost aware AI. But the biggest shift is conceptual. We're moving from thinking about AI as a feature to thinking about it as an operating expense. And those are very different categories.